Everybody, Ralph Havens here, autoimmuneanswers.com. The forest. You know, we live out here by the forest. It's incredible. I grew up in a place that didn't have any trees, West Texas, and that's where we live now. And, you know, so many people these days are concerned about climate change and the earth and what's going to happen to our rainforests and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, there's the healing of ourselves. So our healing of ourselves, healing of others, healing of the planet. And, you know, the forest, I think the earth is going to be fine. The earth is going to be fine. Even the forests are going to be fine. The question is, are humans going to be here, right? And, you know, the earth will take itself back. If I have to keep cutting back the forest and just to make my house not get engulfed by all these trees, and trails get overgrown, and you know the earth will take care of itself, and the forest will come back and do what it does. It's the question is, are humans going to be here? At least that's what I feel. And when I think about the forest, you know, if you go into a place that hasn't had much interaction with humans, and the animals are there, and the plants are there, and the forest is there, it does really well, right? It's thriving, just thriving, you know? The rivers are great. The forest is great. The earth is great. Everything is really good. And so then when it comes to healing, what I've noticed is if you just don't mess it up, if we stop hurting it, it does pretty darn well. It knows how to heal. And it's what I've noticed with humans. And Jen and I are about to do our interview. I want to interview Jen, and I'm going to just have to like do it on the fly. And so if you want to be in on that, just click subscribe and click the little bell icon, and you'll be notified of when we go live. It'll either be later today or Thursday probably. So but subscribe to that, because we're going to do a big interview of stuff that Jen's learned. And, you know, what I found over the years is there's so much stuff that happens to humans that just makes it where it's hard to thrive. It's hard to heal. And, you know, you could talk about stuff like fluoride in the water. If you look it up and dive into the research, it's really toxic, and it hurts a lot of people, And for some people, getting rid of that in their water helps them actually heal. That's what happened to me. Got rid of bone pain, depression, all sorts of kidney problems, all sorts of GI problems. But so much of the United States is drinking fluoridated water and bathing in it and cooking in it. And it's really, really, really toxic. So if you just quit doing that, you might heal. So much of the world is just inundated with electromagnetic radiation and the cell phones. And we all love our cell phones, and we love to have them in our pocket. And we can't imagine not being able to like check our Facebook and our Twitter and our Instagram and see what's going on, and then just play around on games and have this device emitting electrical magnetic radiation into our heart and into our brain. And I've seen severe medical conditions, GI conditions, severe life-threatening stuff go away when somebody quit putting the cell phone in their back pocket and turned it off and got hardwired connections for their computers and used it sparingly. And I've seen people heal from that, numerous people. And we've noticed in our little boys that if they're around iPads and devices like that, the tablets and the smartphones, that they start to go kind of crazy. The OCD, the ADHD kind of stuff kicks in. And it'd be easy to think, well, that's just how they are. Maybe they need some drugs. Maybe they need a different diet. But it's like, what we found is, man, if we just limit that in a big way, like they don't get to do that hardly at all, they're just fine. They're happy. They're content. They're good guys. They do good stuff. But if they have a lot of cell phone activity around them, they start to be inconsolable. You can't reason with them. They tell you stuff, and they're just like so distraught, and they're just so messed up. And you could try to fix it on so many levels, but truly, if you have kids and they're just going crazy, and they're on smartphones and iPads and other tablets and stuff all the time, could be a real reason why they're having such a hard time. And so, the forest is the same way. Like, if you just leave it alone, it does really well. If you just scratch a little into the surface about vaccines and vaccine safety, there are no vaccine safety studies. There's been no placebo testing. The studies that were used to actually get, like, for example, the MMR vaccine approved by the FDA back in the 1970s is appalling, They tested it on 300 something kids. That's who they gave the MMR that they ended up approving. They gave it to 300 kids, and out of 1,000 kids total. And they never tested it against the placebo. And what they found was 50% increase in neurological diseases and gastrointestinal diseases that occurred within the first 42 days of somebody getting an MMR shot. They found this back in the 70s. And then they decided, for some God known reason, I don't know, they decided that they were going to go ahead and release that to the public. And they decided it because this mostly benign in developed countries, people didn't die from it was so rare. And it was sad when it happened, but it was so rare. And measles were just thought of as like an infection, which it is, like 7 to 10 days, and then you clear it, and then your body's actually stronger, then you never get it again, and everybody's protected because of the herd has had it. But they decided to get this vaccine, and their reasoning was parents had to take a week off from work. And so that was their reasoning. And now they've created a very strange, crazy thing where so many people have not had the measles, and the vaccines wane in effectiveness. And so there's a lot of people, adults, if you haven't had your MMR vaccine booster in the last 10 years, then you are not protected. You're not part of the herd. You're not protecting anybody. And so we've got to create a situation where there's going to be a lot more people susceptible to catching this. And then it gets dangerous. And so, if we keep mucking around with stuff like we've done with the earth and the forest and people's bodies, we get into trouble. And so what I found is, when it comes to healing, if we can find what we're protecting ourselves from and leave it alone, quit doing that. Our bodies have an internal wisdom. Of course it does, right? You get a cut and it heals. That's a miracle, right? And if somebody's dead and they get a cut, it's not going to heal. So there's something innate in us that knows how to heal. And you could put stitches on it or Band-Aids, steri strips on it. And if it's not healing, maybe there's an infection and you got to clear that. Or maybe the person has diabetes and they got to get their blood sugar under control. Or maybe it's just really, really dirty and you just got to clean it up. Or maybe you do need stitches to bring the edges closer together. But who does the healing? The person does the healing, right? The person's own innate wisdom does the healing. And so there's a reason people are not healing, and it's because they're protecting something. And it could be as simple as just stop doing something that's hurting you. And then there's also something where the protection could be very deep. It could be a mental or emotional or spiritual issue or some sort of physical thing. And there's some very ancient wisdom. And I'm so lucky to have found a coach that showed it to me to go right to the core of what it's really all about. And it was interesting because he showed it to me. He's a business coach, and he used it to help himself go from food stamps to making a really, really good living and helping a lot of people. And he's helped me and my family to be able to do what we do. But he used it to get over his issues around himself and his self-worth and that sort of thing. And it really made me take notice. I'm like, wow, I'm going to try that. And it really worked. And so then I was back with my Qigong master and realized that, oh my goodness, he's been telling me this for the past 15, 16 years. And I missed it. And I missed it because there was no story involved of like what it had done for him or his family or people in the world. They just, in passing almost, they said, hey, do this thing. And I missed it. And so it's what I use extensively for myself and my family to clear the deep inner stuff. And, there's a physicist named Nassim Haramein who questioned a lot of stuff. And just to make the story short, he published a paper that was really, really cool, the Schwarzschild proton. And what he found when he did the math was that there's infinite information, infinite energy, even infinite mass, infinite stuff in every proton. Now, you know, we have atoms that we're made out of, and atoms have the electrons spinning around, and they have the protons, the positively charged things on the inside, and they have the neutrons and the neutral things on the inside. And in every proton of every atom in the universe, the math, when you take away the assumptions that have been made in physics, Nassim Haramein found that in every proton is infinite energy, information, mass. Now that just goes weird, right? That goes weird. Like you can't wrap your mind around that. Like, what are you talking about? There's infinity in this dot and in this dot and this dot. Like, there's infinity here. How can there be infinity here? And what about all the other stuff? But that's what the math says. And so this ancient wisdom of looking inside and finding the answer is very powerful. It's what I use. It's what I use every day. And I use it now with the way my business coach showed me, and also the way my Qigong master has been teaching me for years. And I'm really getting it. And it's a way to dive right into the infinite information, the infinite wisdom. Because if you leave stuff alone and let it do what it does, that infinity has got it covered. It's got our back. You know, there's a saying, I think it was Lao Tzu, that said, do nothing and leave nothing undone. But that's a very strange thing too, right? It kind of makes the mind go, what? Come on. Yeah, isn't that interesting? All Zen-like or Tao stuff or whatever that is. And do nothing and leave nothing undone. But if you think about it, if in the physics, in the nothing, in the space, in every dot, there's infinity, then in that nothing, if you do the nothing and leave the nothing undone, maybe it's got it figured out, this wisdom, right? Now, what Jen and I are seeing, and we'll talk more about it in our interview, lots of the old ways are crumbling right now. And it seems like they're taking a big, strong push to try to stay relevant, but it's no longer relevant. So much of what I've been told to be true for in all sorts of systems are just not true. Just not true. And what I'm finding, and Jen's finding, is the infinite actually is in you. And the cool thing is there is a way to access it directly. It's not going to happen with the mind. It's definitely not going to happen with thinking. It's something quite different. And some of you might be feeling it right now. Because when you notice it, it notices you. And something interesting happens when that starts to happen. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. There's so much that if we quit trying to mess with stuff and go silent and touch what that infinite is, we can heal. You can heal. The earth's going to be fine. All right, everybody. So hope you enjoyed today's session. Let me know what you noticed. And if you were to go inside and notice whatever that is, what might you notice right now? All right, everybody. If you want more of this kind of stuff, you can go to ralphhavens.com/free miracle session. All right. Bye now.